They expected cameras, handshakes, and speeches, but what they got was something no one saw coming. When a reporter asked President Trump why he was eating with the soldiers instead of at his private table, his answer stunned everyone and changed the mood of the entire room. The soldiers were exhausted, faces smudged with dust, uniforms wrinkled from long nights of patrol. Yet when President Donald Trump walked through the doors, the energy changed instantly. A wave of cheers and applause filled the room. Soldiers stood to their feet, some snapping quick salutes, others simply smiling in disbelief. Trump wasn't scheduled to visit that day. It was a surprise stop during his overseas tour. Cameras followed him as he walked through the hall, shaking hands, clapping shoulders, and sharing quick laughs. For most world leaders, moments like these are tightly choreographed. Usually the plan is simple. Greet the troops, say a few inspiring words, take the photos, and then retreat to a private dining setup prepared with silverware, white tablecloths, and quiet comfort. But this time, something different happened. President Trump paused. His eyes swept across the room, rows of soldiers standing in line with metal trays, waiting for their turn at the buffet counter. The VIP table, gleaming in the corner, sat untouched and perfectly arranged. Then, without hesitation, Trump turned away from it. He walked straight toward the food line, picked up a simple paper plate, and stepped into line with the soldiers. The room fell into a stunned silence. Reporters began whispering, cameras zoomed in. The soldiers exchanged glances, unsure what to do. That's when one journalist, half smiling in disbelief, leaned forward and asked, "Mr. President, why are you eating with the soldiers instead of at your private table?" Trump looked up, gave a small, calm smile, and said nothing for a moment. The clicking of cameras slowed. The air grew still. And then, with a voice steady but filled with emotion, he answered. Words that would leave the entire room completely silent. You could hear the clinking of spoons and trays stop all at once. Every conversation froze mid-sentence. The only sound left was the low hum of the ceiling fans and the faint buzz of cameras still recording. Every eye in the room turned toward President Trump. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached for his tray, a simple meal of roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and a cookie balanced on a white paper plate. No special service, no silver cutlery, just the same meal every soldier was eating. Then, without a word, he walked past the staring crowd and sat down between two young soldiers who looked barely 20. Their uniforms were dusty, sleeves rolled up, eyes tired but bright with pride. The cameras followed him as he took his seat at the long metal table, shoulder to shoulder with them. The silence in the room grew heavier, not awkward, but powerful. Everyone waited, wondering what he would say. Finally, after a long pause, President Trump looked up, his voice calm but firm. He said, "Because these are my people. They're the reason I get to sit at any table in the first place." For a moment, no one moved. Even the reporters seemed unsure whether to write or just listen. The journalist who had asked the question looked stunned but still pressed forward. "But, sir," she said carefully, "you have a private setup prepared for you. Don't you think it's better to eat there, away from all this noise and the cameras?" Trump paused again, set his fork down, and looked her straight in the eye. His expression was steady, but there was a weight behind his words when he finally spoke. "If they can eat here," he said, gesturing around the hall, "in this noise, in this heat, after everything they've been through, then so can I. I'm not above them. I'm here because of them." The room fell completely silent. Not a single plate moved. The soldiers didn't cheer or clap. They just sat there, stunned, humbled. Some nodded slowly. A few smiled faintly. And more than one soldier, hardened by years of service, wiped away quiet tears. In that single moment, every person in that room, soldier, reporter, or staff member, felt it. Respect. Pure, undeniable respect. As the meal went on, the room began to relax. The tension faded, replaced by quiet laughter and the sound of trays sliding across tables. President Trump didn't rush through his food or make the moment about himself. Instead, he did something few expected. He talked with the soldiers, not at them. He asked simple questions that carried deep meaning. "Where's home for you?" he asked one young man. "How long have you been out here?" he asked another. Each time, he listened closely, leaning in, giving his full attention. One young woman sitting across from him smiled nervously as she spoke. She said she hadn't seen her baby daughter in over 7 months. Her voice trembled as she admitted she'd only been able to watch her daughter's first steps through a shaky video call. The room grew quiet as she finished speaking. Trump didn't interrupt. He simply nodded and said softly, "You're stronger than most people will ever understand." Another soldier, older with a tired look in his eyes, told him he'd missed Thanksgiving 3 years in a row. "My mom still sets a plate for me," he said with a half smile. "Says she won't stop until I'm home." The table chuckled gently, but there was a heaviness in that laughter, the kind that comes from shared sacrifice. Trump looked at him and replied, "Tell your mom that America thanks her too, because she's serving right alongside you, just in a different way." Then, after a few minutes, Trump grew quiet. The chatter around the table faded again as he began to speak. Not like a politician giving a speech, but like a man sharing something personal. "When I was younger," he began, "I had everything: success, wealth, comfort. But I learned something important. All of that means nothing if you forget the people who stand guard for your freedom. My father taught me that when you're blessed, you never eat alone while others stand hungry. And these soldiers?" He gestured around the table. "You're the ones standing so that the rest of us can eat in peace." He paused, his gaze sweeping across the faces before him. "This meal isn't about me sitting with soldiers. It's about remembering that these are the faces behind every free morning, every safe night, and every flag flying back home." Later, one soldier shared in an interview, "It wasn't about politics that day. It was about respect. For the first time, we felt seen, not as uniforms, but as people." After the meal, the chatter in the dining hall softened into a peaceful calm. Plates were nearly empty, and the soldiers, once cautious and formal, were now relaxed, smiling, and talking like they were among friends. President Trump looked around the long tables filled with brave men and women in uniform. He set his fork down, took a slow sip of water, and then stood. Instantly, the room quieted. No one asked him to speak. They just waited. Trump raised his glass of water. Nothing fancy, just a simple plastic cup like everyone else's. He didn't clear his throat or pull out a written speech. Instead, he spoke straight from the heart. "To every soldier here," he began, his voice steady but emotional, "thank you. You're the backbone of our nation. You're the strength behind our freedom, the shield behind our peace. I came here to thank you." He paused, letting the silence carry his words. "But after today, I'm the one who feels honored." For a moment, no one moved. His words hung in the air like a powerful echo. You could see soldiers exchanging glances, eyes shining. Some looked down, others smiled quietly, humbled by the sincerity in his tone. Then something unexpected happened. A young soldier sitting near the back of the room suddenly stood up and shouted, "Thank you, sir!" His voice cracked slightly, but it broke the silence like thunder. Within seconds, the rest of the room followed. Dozens of voices rose at once. "Thank you, sir! We appreciate you! God bless America!" The entire hall filled with clapping, cheering, and the sound of boots stomping against the floor. One of the senior officers later said, "I've seen many leaders visit troops, but that day, it wasn't a visit. It felt like family." When the applause finally faded, Trump gave a small nod, smiled, and quietly walked toward the exit. Reporters turned their cameras toward the VIP section and noticed something remarkable. His private dining table, set with polished silverware and golden plates, sat completely untouched. Not a single chair had been moved. As he left the hall, one camera captured a simple but powerful image: President Trump turning back, raising his hand in a final salute to the troops. That clip went viral within hours. Millions watched it across social media. Comments flooded in. Agree or disagree with him? That was a real moment. He showed respect where it mattered most. And one person simply wrote, "He ate with the people who protect us. That's leadership." In the days that followed, that simple moment, a president eating beside his soldiers, became more than just a trending clip online. It became a story shared across dinner tables, newsrooms, and social media feeds. But beyond the millions of views and headlines, something deeper lingered in people's hearts. That image of President Trump sitting shoulder to shoulder with the troops wasn't about politics or publicity. It was about something timeless, a reminder of humility, of respect, of gratitude. In a world where leaders are often seen behind podiums or on big stages, here was one choosing to sit at a plain metal table, eating from a paper plate with the very people who protect the nation. Because sometimes, true leadership isn't about power, speeches, or golden tables. It's about presence. It's about walking into a room, full of those who serve and saying not with words but with actions, "You matter." That day, he didn't just share a meal, he shared a message. A reminder that leadership is less about being admired and more about being connected. Less about authority and more about empathy. Whether you support Trump or not, that day revealed something deeply human. That kindness, respect, and gratitude still have the power to unite. A simple act, like sitting down for lunch, can speak louder than any speech or press conference ever could. Maybe that's why the room was left in tears. Not because of what he said, but because of what he showed. He showed that even in a world divided by opinions, one genuine moment of humility can remind us all of what truly matters. He reminded the world that honor isn't about being served, it's about serving others. That strength isn't found in the spotlight. It's found in standing beside those who give everything for their country. So the next time someone asks, "Why would a president eat with soldiers?" the answer will always be the same, because in that moment he wasn't just a president. He was one of them. A man sharing a meal with heroes, showing the world that sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest power. And that is a moment no one will ever forget.